Where does the value lie in the Ravens receiving core? Will 2017 be the year of Ebron? And why aren't FFPC players drafting Joe Mixon higher? Plus, 2016 FFPC $2,500 auction league champ John Rozek joins the show to talk about the players he wishes he would have gotten more of in drafts so far this season, what his pros versus Joe's strategy will be, and much more. We've got a great show for you. Dave Gerzak is here. I'm Eric Balkman. Stick around. Your high-stakes fantasy football hour starts now.
Thinking of a master plan. Cause ain't nothing but sweat inside my hands. So I dig into my pocket, all my money spent. So I dig deeper, but still coming up for lint. So I start my mission, leave my residence, thinking how could I get some dead presidents. I need money. I used to be a stick-up kid, so I think of all the devious things I did. 1, 2, 3, 4. I used to roll up, this is a hole up. Ain't nothing funny, stop smiling. You still don't nothing move but the money. But now I learned that.
Broadcast live and heard around the world. You are now listening to the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. It's the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for football analysis from the best fantasy players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak.
I don't like to dream about getting paid, so I dig into the books of the rhymes that I made.
Thank you so much, Rob. Greetings and salutations to all of you Balkaholics and Gerzak addicts tuning in tonight. Welcome to the latest episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour, presented by MyFFPC.com, right here on the Fantasy Sports Radio Network. I'm your slightly above average host, Eric Balkman, and my co-host is indeed the patron saint of fantasy football, the Dizzle, Dave Gerzak. Coming up on tonight's show, what running back is the one you want to own in Indy this season? How solid a second-round pick is Jay Ajayi? And John Rozek, a.k.a. the Champs, drops by to talk about his $12,500 win in the FFPC 2500 auction last year, how good Christian McCaffrey's production will be as a rookie, and a bunch more. Shout out to the chat room right now. Feel free to post any questions you all might have right in there if you want to connect with us on Twitter. The show is at HSFF Hour. I am at Eric Balkman, and Dave is at David Gerzak. You can post on our Facebook page, facebook.com/HSFF Hour. If you want to chime in, give us a call. 347-426-3682 is the number. That's 347-GAME-OVA. You can also send your questions into the show at the inbox, highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com. Now's the time to get those questions and comments to us. Our producer and mutual friend Rob, our audio engineer Bryce, doing their best to get them all to us in our fantasy feedback segment later on in the show. It is, what are we coming up on? 87 days, Dave, until the regular season starts. This according to a Facebook post I saw by a premium user tonight. So very exciting. Less than 3 months, and we'll be watching football for real.
That is pretty exciting. I'm actually I'm really starting to get into it a little bit.
Does it seem like we're 87 days away? It seems like we're further away. Like, what, we do this show all season, all year long, right. And it seems like it always sneaks up on me. Even though, like, I talk about fantasy football every week, it seems like it sneaks up on me.
Yeah, we're still getting into the heart of summer, so
yeah.
You still have another, I don't know, maybe a month or so of the doldrums, I guess. But people are drafting. Drafts are going off. Also.
Yeah.
They are. Going to be too, I know you're going to go with all the promotional, play all this stuff. Yeah. That'll be coming up.
Oh, it's a good transition into what we have going on at myffpc.com right now, Dave.
Everyone go to the bathroom now.
Dynasty startups going off. Satellite starting at $35. Of course, we have Superflex, DEs, Classics, a bunch of stuff. Football Guys drafts going on. We got a bunch of those in the books already. A bunch more scheduled this weekend, of course.
Football Guys has been really busy. We were talking about that before the show.
Yeah. It's been popping, as the kids say.
Yeah.
The main event is also scheduled for the opening weekend and the weekend before, once again this year. And we hope you can come out to Planet Hollywood and draft live with us. It will be very exciting to be out there. Been emailing with some new players who've never been to Vegas before that are coming out this year, so it'll be exciting for them.
Like ever?
No, like for the FFPC. They've been to Vegas before and never drafted live, so it'll be very cool. And John Rozek, our guest tonight, we'll actually see him in Kentucky when we're going to be drafting live, so that'll be awesome as well.
We are old pals with the Champs.
We are, and there's a lot of fresh blood in Kentucky, a lot of fresh blood in the FFPC this year too, so it's very exciting. Hey, it's Father's Day weekend.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And we what?
So, my wife was out of town. I asked to get my dad something still.
Oh, okay. I already took care of that.
I guess we're on e-gift card level now. Like, that's where I'm at.
Did I tell you what I got my dad for Father's Day?
No, you did not.
A collarless, a non-hoodie, like a sweatshirt, like an old man sweatshirt.
Collarless?
Collarless is bad.
Is that a cardigan?
No. Sorry. It is not a sweater.
With the buttons?
It is a sweatshirt, something you would wear for jogging. Doesn't have a hood on it, like a total.
No zippers, no buttons.
No zippers, and it's
a pullover.
And it's got a picture of Columbo on it. Remember Columbo,
Oh, yeah.
Peter Falk?
Yeah.
And it says, he's saying, just one more thing on it.
Okay.
My dad's a huge Columbo fan, and he picked this out. He's like, I really hope I get this for Father's Day this year. So I got it for him. Yeah, so he's very exciting.
All right.
Father's Day weekend, what I wanted to bring up. Father's Day weekend, we have a promo going on right now with the FFPC. For any $250 league you purchase, DE, Superflex, Dynasty, Classic, whatever, anything you purchase this weekend, by midnight on Father's Day night, Sunday night, we're going to give you a free $35 league. Now, if you want to use that for yourself, great. If you want to put it in your dad's account or maybe your son's account, if you want to draft with him, draft against him, whatever it may be, that is our gift to you, all you dads out there, and non-dads. I mean, you don't have to be a dad to take advantage of this. Current FFPC players, new FFPC players.
Can women do it?
Women can do it too.
Jules McLean can.
Jules McLean, I would be offended if she didn't take advantage of this. Yes. Kimmer Schlischer, another one.
We're not sexist at all.
No, we're not.
With regard to that promo, we're not sexist.
Right. Yes, normally we are in real life. Totally.
Yeah,
yes.
Otherwise we are.
But yeah, in regards to this promo, we're actually going to put our personal agenda aside and let women participate.
Did you hear about this guy who was on the board of Uber? Speaking of sexist, he got in huge trouble.
Huge trouble. Yeah.
Did you hear about it?
Yeah, he resigned.
Yeah. Did you hear what his comment was?
No.
So it's I guess typically there's one woman on the board of directors or something of that nature. And then someone said that there was some mention that if another woman gets on the board, if one woman gets on the board, then another woman is likely to get on. And he said that just leads to more talking. So everyone got all up in arms.
Yikes.
That he commented that women speak more than men.
Yeah.
They actually do speak more than men. It's not that big of a deal.
All right. Okay.
But
moving on.
I'm just saying it's not that big of a deal. I don't even think it's that insulting.
No.
I mean, guys are Neanderthals. We don't talk that.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. Like
people get so offended. But I don't think that's very offensive.
Who do you know who loves the sound of his own voice than me?
Right.
Okay. I'm at home. I would much rather listen to my wife and my daughter speak ad nauseum about whatever they want because their voices are so mellifluous on the show, or not on the show, but in real life.
Right.
That I would much rather listen to them talk. It goes for women in general. So moving on, that is our Father's Day promo. Remember to register for all those leagues we have going on at myffpc.com. Let's get into it. Football guys, Roto World and Rob, thanks to them for putting together tonight's rundown. Josh Katzenstein of NOLA.com reports that Mark Ingram wants to be even better than he was during his career best year of last season. Even with the Saints adding Adrian Peterson to that backfield, Ingram actually believes he can be better than last year. Adrian Peterson, Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram, all competing for touches. If you listen to the Football Guys Audible last night, you heard
I missed it.
Yeah, well, actually, it's okay if you missed it because Sigmund Bloom has a great article at footballguys.com regarding about how many top 12 and how many top 16 running back performances there were by team last year. And surprisingly enough, the Saints had a bunch of them. The Saints are very good, despite being a backfield by committee, running back by committee, whatever. I guess all backfields are by committee. Despite being a running back by committee, they actually churn out some pretty good running back weeks from week to week. Now, the issue with that is...
From week to week, okay.
Yeah, the issue with that is it's great for a DE if you got all of them.
Right.
You got to pick one of them. It's sort of like a New England Patriots light situation where you're not sure which guy you're going to start from week to week. So, Dave, I'm going to pose this to you.
Or none.
You look... Exactly. And this is the question here. You look at where these Saints are going right now. Mark Ingram, 5'10". Adrian Peterson, 6'09". Alvin Kamara, 12'10". Any value in any three of those spots with those Saints right now, with those Saints running backs? Or are those the type of guys that you're actually going to stay away from and look for some other value in those rounds?
Yeah, I don't know how interested I really am. I'm definitely not interested in Adrian Peterson. I think his career is finito.
I'm with you there, man.
So I just don't really have – Kamara seems relatively cheap, I guess. But, with that many – with Ingram and Peterson's not going to be there for third downs. I don't know. I mean – Does
it like get you more excited for Kamara knowing that, I mean, he probably will be the third down back in a pretty elite offense?
Yeah, I mean, we don't know for sure that. We don't know that for sure, though. I know they're talking about how he's getting all these catches and so on. I don't know. I mean, I guess Ingram, I'd have a little bit of interest in. If Ingram fell into the mid-6 or whatever, and I didn't find anybody else I like, I would take a look at him.
I think
he's in a. The problem with Ingram is you don't even know for sure that he's going to get goal line because you don't know exactly what Peterson's going to take.
Yeah.
It's too much. I mean, to me, I'm not interested in it because there's not enough year-over-year consistency. So it's like, why do I have to mess around with the situation? I'm probably just going to pass.
Yeah, you would
somebody else, because two people are going to screw this up.
Yeah, it's true. Okay, a couple of running backs going right after Mark Ingram. C.J. Anderson. You'd rather have Anderson than Ingram?
Yeah, I would actually.
What about Carlos Hyde?
Yeah, I would take Carlos Hyde. I don't mind because I could grab Joe Williams and not that he's pretty cheap. What's he like? 12?
Joe Williams?
Yeah.
Let me take a let me check here, Dave.
As sounds like our watchmate.
Yeah, that's kind of what he sounds like. 13-8 right now.
Yeah, that's not a bad combo. I mean, granted, they're not going to score a zillion points.
Right.
It's a better. They're going to do better than last year.
Last one. Would you rather have Mark Ingram or Spencer Ware?
I'd probably take Ware.
I would still go Ingram there, for my money. But I mean I get it. And then I'm
very concerned about Ware though. I think I'm interested in Kareem Hunt actually. So I'm interested.
How do you see that splitting up? I mean, I
think Ware is a non-pedigreed back, and that they're interested in giving the job to someone they think is better.
And they think Hunt is better since they traded up for him.
That's my opinion. Yeah. That they think that he has a potential to be better. I don't think they think Ware is. They think Ware is pretty pedestrian, in my opinion.
This will not be a 50-50, 60-40 split in your mind. This is more of a situation that it'll be like 75-25, 70-30, something like that. So, I'm assuming for Hunt.
No, I mean, it's not going to happen that way out of the gate. Absolutely, there's no way.
So to start the season, it is closer to a split, is how you foresee this, and then Hunt.
Probably unless there's an injury, I would think that Ware has the job to start the season, and we'll see what happens. But I think that Hunt is what is Hunt going? Probably in like the 11th, 12th, 13th. So again, he's cheap. You don't draft Hunt think he's going to take the job.
803 right now.
Okay, so that's pretty early. I mean, that's pretty early.
And Spencer Ware going in the 6th.
I think Ware was having some injury issues, wasn't he? I mean, I thought I read something about that.
Yeah, I mean, again, we're going to see. We have training camp where these beat writers are actually seeing these guys every single day. We're going to have some preseason games. But if you're drafting
sore hamstrings, missed 2 practices.
Okay, but if you're drafting right now, you'd be more likely to take Hunt in the 8th than Ware in the 6th.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Probably. I guess.
Right. Moving on. Some actual news this week, Dave. Jeremy Maclin found a new home in Baltimore. And according to Jamison Hensley from ESPN.com, he's expected to be the new slot receiver with Mike Wallace and Brashad Perriman lining up on the outside for Joe Flacco. Now, Jeremy Maclin, last season in Philadelphia, 1,300 yards, 10 touchdowns. Probably not going to happen this year. But can he hit 1,000 yards with, like, let's say 75 catches in this offense as the slot guy this year?
It's possible. I mean, if Perriman's a bust, which is totally possible. I mean, everyone loves Perriman, but I mean, who knows? He might suck.
Let me tell you. I'm going to interrupt you for a second here.
Please do, actually, because I don't really have.
You don't have a strong opinion? Okay. Okay, I'll give you a pretty strong take on Perriman. The Ravens hate Perriman. I mean, honestly.
I think they love him. They keep on trying to, give him playing time.
But they keep bringing in other guys to take him off the field. I mean, Jeremy Maclin's another guy.
Not taking him off the field. He's keeping him on the field. He's a slot.
Okay. When if you're Joe Flacco and you have the opportunity to throw in Mike Wallace, Jeremy Maclin, Brashad Perriman, who's drawing the short straw in that offense? I think it's Perriman. I think Maclin and Wallace are the guys to own in this offense.
Yeah, you're probably right.
So the way I look at this, and you know what?
Unproven bald guy.
We don't have to get into it a whole lot because I think we got an emailer this week actually emailing our guest specifically to hear what he has to say. But for me, I like Wallace. I like Maclin. Not so much on Perriman, even though Perriman's going after those guys in drafts right now.
Yeah, I'm not that excited about any of them, but yeah, Wallace. I don't mind Wallace too much, I guess.
CBS 4 Indianapolis is Mike Chappell or Chappelle. I don't know how he pronounces it. Not in Indianapolis. He expects Frank Gore to remain the Colts' workhorse running back this season.
Company.
What?
In Indianapolis. Go ahead.
Okay. Chappell acknowledges Robert Turbin and maybe Marlon Mack could or even help. Could or even will help with the running back load. But Frank Gore, despite being a young 67 years old, appears to be the guy once again in that backfield. You look at Frank Gore, Dave, going at the 706 this year, and you expect that he's going to be the man. Seemingly doesn't get hurt. I'd be looking at him in the 7th round.
Why not?
For a starting running back on an elite offense?
For sure. I mean, all these people pissed away early 2nd round rookie draft picks on Marlon piece of crap Mack.
Yeah.
my opinion, he amounts to nothing as a player this year and going forward in his career. When Gore retires, they'll draft a guy in the first round or second round. You guys wasted your early second round pick on him. You should have drafted anyone else and done much better. So good luck with that. I think he's garbage. Turbin's obviously garbage, so it's Gore. I mean, and Gore was, what was he, the running back 13 last year?
I thought he finished in the top 12, actually.
Whatever, it's
11 or 12.
But the problem is he's only getting like 12 points a game.
Right.
So
he's Mr. Consistent, but like Mr. High floor, low ceiling.
12, 14 points a game. But every once in a while he'll pop out like an 18 or 19. But that's what an RB in that range gets you. But otherwise you're drafting someone at the 204 that gets the same amount of fantasy points.
Now think about this. How many owners would have killed to get 12 to 14 points per week from their second running back last year? Running backs have been decimated over the last 2 or 3 years. Frank Gore, seemingly, you know what? In the zombie apocalypse, Frank Gore is the one guy who's immune to it.
Yeah, I know.
He's the one guy that, like, you want to make sure that you're hanging out with, you're bunking with them, you're bringing them food, you're keeping them happy, you're telling them jokes, because he will keep you alive in the zombie apocalypse, and he will keep you alive in the running back apocalypse, which he is doing for fantasy owners right now. Frank Gore, in the 7th round, if you're telling me I can get 13 points a week, let's just say, and I'm not going to get very much more than that, but I'm not going to get very much less than that for my second running back, totally happy with that in the 7th round. I'm not drafting as my RB1 there. My second running back, so I'm fine with that. Moving on, Tampa Bay Bucks GM Jason Licht said suspended Doug Martin. Looks like the Doug Martin of 2015. This was a story on NFL.com
today. These guys are really like puffing them up.
Yeah, well, everything has been really good coming out of the Tampa media and out of the Buccaneers headquarters, all the way back to voluntary workouts. Jason Licht says he looks lean. Obviously, there's no contact in the spring, but it looks like he's finishing his runs. It looks like he's got that burst. So Doug Martin coming into his 6th season in the NFL, also going at the 706 in drafts right now, Dave. So you look at Frank Gore and Doug Martin, you have a choice there. Which one are you taking? Because Doug Martin clearly has the higher upside. Frank Gore is definitely going to be more consistent. And just tell me who you think, and I'm going to share something else.
I'm interested in both of them, actually. So he's suspended, 3 games?
3 games, yeah. That's what I was going to bring up. Does that suspension change at all?
I would probably take, as much as I like Gore, I might take Doug Martin there.
You might take Doug Martin? Was suspended the first 3 games?
Yeah, I actually like both of them.
You know, the other great thing is, too, it's not like Tampa drafted or signed anybody that could potentially take the job away. They have Rodgers and Sims and Jeremy McNichols.
Sims gets some third down work.
No, but I'm saying, like, in those first 3 weeks, I can't imagine any of those guys being so awesome that Doug Martin is.
I can't see McNichols being that good.
Yeah.
They like him, but. So, by the way, Gore was RB12.
Yeah.
And then he was an RB20 on a points per game basis. He averaged 13.5 points. That just shows you,
still top 25 running back.
There's something to be said about a guy who shows up every week.
Yeah.
I remember Wayne Ellis was laughing at Kurt about 5 years ago about how old Frank Gore was, and he took him into PE. And I think Kurt might have won that league, possibly.
Who's the famous quote that's attributed to? Half of life is just showing up.
I don't know.
Somebody said that, like half of life is just showing up. I can't remember who said that. Chat room.
I was just trying to make a joke about somebody who just showed up his whole life, but I couldn't think of anyone.
We have John Rozek showing up just on the other side of the break here on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. Last thing I want to get to before we get to John. Kevin White back to full speed, according to the Chicago Tribune. Now, Kevin White this will be his 3rd year in the league. He's missed 28 of 32 possible games since he was drafted by Chicago. Fractured left tibia, fibular spiral fracture, and severe ankle ligament damage.
That's a lot of big words.
Trying to work on aligning his stride, spending months doing that. But it looks like in minicamp he's running at full speed. Teammates got excited after he sunk his hips and exploded out of a curl route in practice.
One route.
Hey, listen. The fact that he's been able to demonstrate to do it, I think, is interesting. And I'm not going to.
Hey guys, watch this. I'm going to run a curl. Whoa, okay, that's amazing.
Okay, listen. What if you're seeing a guy who was paralyzed for 10 years work his way back, and you see, big deal, he took a step. Who cares? He took a step. It's the same thing. This guy hasn't been able to do anything on the field. He's running curl routes now. That's exciting to see.
Quadriplegic get out of his wheelchair and taking the first step. He's going to walk again.
Listen, when Kevin White did that first curl route, it brought a tear to my eye. You son of a gun.
It brought a tear to the eyes of all the Bears fans who are they're praying at the 20% chance that this guy is not a colossal, overaged bust at the place he was taken in the NFL draft.
Right. Well, the place he's being taken in FFPC drafts right now, I'll just hop on the train again. I like it. 1306 for Kevin White.
That is
1101 for Cam Meredith.
Ridiculously late, actually, for both of those guys.
I'm not going to name the name, but a person who has been on the show several times was in a draft this week, and we were talking about it, and he's like, look, and he drafted a pair of Meredith and White. He's like, this is insanely cheap. I'm going to keep doing this, until these guys' draft values go up.
Yeah, Beaker's not that bad of a quarterback.
He is not, and we have a fantastic guest coming up right on the other side of the break here on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. 2016 FFPC auction champ John Rozek joins us. Eric Balkman, Dave Gerzak on the Fantasy Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. My name is Eric Balkman, and he is Dave Gerzak. This is the HSFF Hours portion of the show where we bring in the guest. Let me introduce him now. He is a longtime High Stakes Fantasy Football veteran who we actually get to see in Kentucky each year. He's already been inducted into the Toyota Fantasy Football Hall of Fame. He's coming
Where
off.
Is that? I want to go to the Hall of Fame.
Where's Toyota? Is that Japan?
Well, they're out of Japan.
Yeah, but that's probably where the Hall of Fame is located.
They have U.S. manufacturing facilities, so don't worry about buying a Toyota. You're not, buying Japanese.
Okay.
It's okay.
All right, I got it. Well, listen, he's coming off a big $12,500 victory in last year's, FFPC $2,500 auction. Be competing right on these airwaves in about 1 month in the 2017 FFPC Pros vs. Joes competition.
Nice.
Please welcome into the show the owner of the Champs franchise, John Rozek. John, welcome to the show, man.
Hey guys, how you doing?
You're awesome to have you on, buddy.
Yeah, this is great. This is a good Kentucky primer. As we're however many, we're 2 months out of that, but this is good to have
2 months till poker.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep,
it'll be a lot of fun. Anything at the buffet.
Yes, plenty of food.
2 months from calling all of Ron Meyer's bluffs at the poker.
Yes. John, listen. Tell all the listeners what you're doing for a living when you're not playing high stakes fantasy football.
I'm a partner for a CPA firm in Chicago, so work with numbers all the time.
It's refreshing to know that, John, despite you living in Chicago, your NFL fan allegiance lies elsewhere, does it not?
Yes, I'm from Wisconsin, so still a diehard Packer fan, and that's not going to change.
God bless your heart, John Rozek.
How do you still have clients down there?
Whatever.
Do you keep this stuff on? I bet he hides it all when they come in. It's under his desk.
Yeah.
All those little mini helmets.
Yeah. The Favre jersey gets temporarily misplaced in his office. I know how it goes.
Yeah,
I have to do that with Kanye
the
West.
Packers screensaver they don't like.
Yeah, exactly.
That's funny. All right, John, we're going to talk fantasy sports. Let's talk about my boy Christian McCaffrey. His dynasty stock went up this season. What are your expectations for him in 2017? Is this a player for redraft that you'd be grabbing at that 3-4 turn?
I think I like his upside this year. I think he's a player that we definitely have to watch during the preseason, kind of see how Carolina's going to use him. I think he's definitely got the talent to be a very productive PPR running back. I guess part of it's looking at where Carolina really hasn't used the running backs in that role that much in the past, even though they really haven't hit anybody. So he's definitely someone I'm looking at 3-4, and I think he's, by the time we get out to Vegas, and that he may end up going much higher than that, depending how his preseason goes.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up because you're right. I mean, Carolina has not thrown to their running backs a whole lot, and yet they draft guys, and Dave is going to jump on me for bringing up Curtis Samuel in the same sentence as Christian McCaffrey, but they bring up those guys. It's maybe there's a philosophical change in this offense. I mean, the fact that if you don't throw to your running backs, you're not going to draft Christian McCaffrey unless you plan on throwing to him. So I think that there's got to be some sort of change there where McCaffrey's skills are being put to use. But you're right. I mean, we're going to have to see how this thing shakes out in training camp and the preseason. I think that he makes a good choice right now at that 3-4 turn, but John hit the nail on the head. I think he goes up. He's a possible ascendant candidate this year, Dave. Christian McCaffrey. Wouldn't you agree?
I would agree. Hey, Rozek, in preseason, are you watching to see if Cam's throwing the ball like 15 miles an hour or like 45 when he rockets it out in the flat field?
I think more just throwing it to actually see if we can complete a pass to McCaffrey or not.
I can't wait for the first time he rockets it off his helmet and it goes flying up way in the air.
You know, the great thing about McCaffrey is he's so skilled with his body. He could probably take a 45-mile-an-hour pass right to his gut and then just somehow contort his body to use the momentum of that pass to carry him all the way to the end zone. So I look forward to that. John, congrats on the big 12,500 win in the 2016-2500 FFPC auction. What do you remember about that league last year as far as maybe some bids that really helped you seal the deal or maybe a waiver wire acquisition? Because it's always interesting when you're competing in an auction league, against such good competition live in Vegas. What do you remember about that league and how were you able to come out on top?
Yeah, and I think back on that one, it's a very tough league. I mean, there's a lot of veteran auction players that are playing in there. I guess kind of what I remember from that is I ended up going very wide receiver heavy in that league, and probably one of the biggest things they had, I was lucky to draft Jordan Howard for $2 early on when I really hadn't had much of anything else at running back, and he probably was the main reason that I had picked up there. And then I also think I remember I got Andrew Luck for a very cheap price, $7 or $8, which I think helped round everything out. And then a little bit of luck during the playoffs.
Yes, with quarterbacks on auctions, it's true, John. I mean,
super
especially
cheap.
FFPC, it's the best guys, $7, and you get them, and then you're kind of pissed, right? You're like, I just wanted Roethlisberger for $2.
That's $7 I can't spend on Mike Wallace now.
Yeah, there's $7 gone. What were you? You were probably happy about
pretty much the case.
Luck
Even afterwards, I was sort of upset that I'd spent that much on a quarterback, but at the end of the day, it's worth it.
What we usually do in Kentucky is we'll take a guy usually it's not Luck because
don't say we. This is you and Leroy.
Right. Yeah. Yes, it's true. Leroy and myself. We'll grab someone like Brady for let's say $7.
Or say Andrew Luck like you did last year.
Luck will usually go for more, but so we'll take a guy like a Brady for $7, and then we'll be bidding up a guy like Luck, and then we'll get him for $20. So then we'll spend $27, and then I'll be telling Leroy, hey, dude, that's okay. That's all right. That's an okay number.
Yeah. So it's
not okay.
But what happened last year it was Luck, and then you're bidding up Roethlisberger, and you got both Luck and Roethlisberger. Yeah. But it ended up working out for you guys because Luck and Roethlisberger both kind of missed different times. At different times, you always had a health, despite drafting or buying those guys, he was at a healthy stud quarterback to start every week. Anyway.
So let me ask you about...
usually you guys don't stop at 2 quarterbacks in Kentucky. You usually get to 3 or 4.
Well, you got to get the backup. So let me ask you about the Jordan Howard actually for the $2. Was that was that one of those late ones where someone else threw them out there where they're trying to sneak them in and they're like Jordan Howard $1, and then you're $2 to try and get them really late?
Yeah, it's probably 3/4 of the way through the draft or so, and not much money left. But yeah, it was an instant 2. So it was one guy that I wasn't necessarily very high on him last year, but he was one of those guys, fly guys that could turn out. So it worked out.
That's awesome. I love it. See, that's those late little sniper picks like that. It's 1, 2. You're waiting on that guy to get nominated, and you don't want to nominate him for $1 because someone's going to go 2 on him.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Eric Ebron. Do you think he's actually going to take a big step forward this year, or do you think it'll be just another typical Eric Ebron year?
Yeah, actually, I thought last year was the year he was going to take a big step forward, and I think at least he was fairly productive, and certainly it turned up near the end of the season. I think he's got the opportunity to. I like him this year. I think he's going to take that step forward. I guess I kind of want to see in the preseason here to see if he's, got some glue for his hands or anything, since he likes to drop a lot of balls. But if he can do that, and hold on to the ball, kind of like Adam started to do, I think he definitely can be have a breakout season that we've been waiting for 3 years.
You look at that Detroit offense, and honestly, I mean, mea culpa, I said a lot of same things here about the Lions offense last year, but you don't have Calvin Johnson. You have Marvin Jones, who, we didn't know what he was coming into Detroit last year, and then he started off like gangbusters, really tailed off. And Galladay's a rookie.
Yeah, he had 2 good games and then he sucked.
Yeah, I mean, so the opportunity is there. And it's not like Stafford is an incapable quarterback. He can get Ebron the ball. So, if he doesn't come through this year again, I think it's on him. Now we're talking.
This is the year.
We're talking about some Fleener level stuff after 2017 if he doesn't come through.
6-year breakup.
Yeah.
Brandon Lloyd type stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm in Chicago now. I'm used to waiting till next year.
So true, right?
Yeah. John Rozek is our guest tonight, the winner of the $12,500 first prize in the FFPC $2,500 auction last year. And, John, you've been very active in 2017 as far as drafts go. You've drafted a bunch of DEs at the FFPC. Have you found yourself missing out on any players that you wish you would have drafted, guys that you thought maybe you could wait another round and they got snaked on you, or guys that you look at your draft board afterwards like, boy, I missed that guy again? Is there anybody that you feel like you've been missing on?
Not in particular. Probably one guy that's been going early that I haven't gotten just because of other guys have been around there is Allen Robinson, who in a few of these drafts is kind of falling to that mid to late third round, which I think is a good value, but I haven't found myself being able to pull the trigger on him at all because just the other receivers and everybody else that has been sitting there. But I think from looking back at some of the earlier drafts, he's probably one guy that stands out. It seems like he's going a little bit lower than what I would expect him to go.
He's going right around Demaryius Thomas, Keenan Allen, Jarvis Landry, those receivers right now behind the likes of Cooks, Baldwin, Hopkins. I'm still a little, for as many people as we've talked to on this show and, in real life about DeAndre Hopkins and Allen Robinson, I think the comparison between those two is pretty obvious because there were guys that were drafted very high last year, first-round picks last year, and both disappointed massively. And you look at the guys this year between Hopkins and Robinson, I haven't really heard anybody talk about, I'm back on Hopkins. He's going to rebound. He's going to be great. But I have heard a lot of people say Allen Robinson. I think he's going to come back at this, 2016 was an aberration, and he's going to be more like 2015 Allen Robinson. Yet Robinson is going like a round later than Hopkins. So the fact is, like, people still are believing, by their draft boards, believing in Hopkins more than Robinson. That's just peculiar to me. John, are you a believer in Hopkins?
Considering the quarterback situation, too, it's actually even more peculiar.
Yeah. I mean, John, are you a believer in Hopkins also bouncing back this year, or don't you see that?
I would like to. I'm definitely a believer in his talent. It's the quarterback situation that has just been so bad last year. I think just where he's going, you think he hit the nail on the head, going in that mid to late second round, there's just enough other receivers that have the same upside that he does. It doesn't necessarily have the same, downside risk that he does. So I would take most of those guys over him. But I do think he can bounce back. It's, he's got to have just at least, even bad quarterback play to have a good year.
I think part of it's because Hopkins is a more trusted player as a wide receiver because he had another year of performing well. Does that sound right? Yeah. Well, Robinson had the one breakout year, and then last year wasn't so good. And they're like, well, is it Robinson's fault? Is it Bortles is a drunk or idiot or whatever?
Maybe the upside of the unknown with Deshaun Watson is contributing to it a little bit more because we kind of know what Blake Bortles is. You know what I mean?
Watson's not expected to start, but are we just assuming he's coming in week 4 or 2?
I think that's what a lot of people think. I don't think that anybody who is drafting Hopkins.
Fred Savage.
The Wonder Years.
Tom, whatever his name is.
I don't think anybody who's drafting Hopkins that high expects the Texans, who traded a lot to move up to get Watson. I don't believe they think that Tom Savage is going to be long for that job. Especially the way we see quarterbacks treated in the NFL the last few years.
On June 14th, DeAndre Hopkins specifically said Tom Savage has earned the starting quarterback job.
But don't you have to say that at this point?
His leadership.
If O'Brien is married to Savage starting week 1, I think the whole team has to get behind him. Otherwise, you're talking about fracturing the locker room.
You think it's going to be Watson throwing that 49-mile-an-hour slider?
I think Watson definitely has more talent in him. It's just a matter of how quickly does he pick up that offense. I think it's one they might give it to Savage to start the season, and we'll see Watson by week 5 or 6.
Why doesn't a head coach just come out and say, "Look, Savage is he's got a little more experience, but we know he pretty much sucks. We know he sucks.
You can't.
So Watson's probably going to start pretty soon, but for now it's this guy."
Yeah. Listen, I think there's ways that coaches already say that. If you read between, when's the Texans bye? Honestly, isn't that the first thing we should look towards? That Watson comes in and starts the week after the bye. Oh, their bye's week 6. Okay, well Watson's probably starting week 7. You know what I mean? Something like that.
It's really interesting if
right, give him a little bit of time to see the pro game, see live action going on, and get that little bit of a game experience before throwing him out there.
Yeah, there you go. We'll see. We'll see how that goes.
What were you going to say about Trump being an NFL head
It'd be
coach?
interesting if President Trump was an NFL head coach. He'd tweet about how much, Savage sucks.
Oh,
Savage
that would be.
He's had 90 yards of that. He's like, Tom Savage sucks. He's not playing anymore. We're putting Watson in. So I want to apologize to all our fans.
But he would be pimping up Tom Savage before the season.
Before the game.
Yeah, before the game. He'd be like, oh, man, Tom Savage is the best quarterback in the NFL. Believe me. He would not be starting for me if he wasn't. By the way, Week 7 is the Texans' bye week this year. So Week 8, Deshaun Watson.
All right.
Ship it.
Week 8.
Let's talk about the Patriots. Let's talk about the Patriots.
All right, we're going to talk about a good team, finally. The Patriots. Instead of these sucky teams. Rob Gronkowski, Brandon Cooks, or Julian, I'm now Chief Edelman. Who do you think the big winner is going to be in the Patriots offense?
Tom Brady. No, I think looking at the receivers on there, I think it's going to be a bit of a crapshoot week to week. I think Edelman's going to be the most consistent one. He's probably the safe guy from week to week. I do love Cooks in the offense. I think he's going to have some huge weeks because everybody also thinks he's going to be very consistent and put up some, 1 or 2 catch type weeks, which might make him a little bit more difficult to start, in a regular like the FFPC format on there. But certainly, I've drafted him in quite a few draft masters because I think he's a good fit for that. Because you take advantage of, I think his good weeks are going to be really big weeks, and I think Gronk will be Gronk. I think he's going to get his thing. He's going to get hurt for part of the season, but while he's in there, he's going to be a top producing tight end.
Rob Gronkowski going at that 1-2 turn right now in FFPC drafts. You see Brandon Cooks usually going off the board at the 304, or so says my data. And Julian Edelman actually been climbing up a little bit, Dave. He is now has an ADP in the 4th round, the 411 for Julian Edelman now.
That's interesting because in a regular PPR league, Gronk goes at the 208 and Cooks goes at the 212. So they're very close in a regular old PPR league, which you should never play.
One of those meat and potatoes PPR leagues nobody cares about anymore. It's all about the zest of the TE premium.
Zest, I like that. That's a good word.
Well, we have much more zesty conversation coming up with John Rozek. We do have to get to a break right now, but this is Eric Balkman, Dave Gerzak talking to John Rozek, the 2016 FFPC $2,500 auction champion right here on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. You're listening to the Fantasy Sports Radio Network. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour rolls on here this mid-June weekend. I am Eric Balkman. He is Dave Gerzak, the Dizzle, the patron saint of fantasy football. And joining us on the airwaves tonight, we have John Rozek, he of the Toyota Fantasy Football Hall of Fame and the 2016 FFPC $2,500 auction champion, talking a lot of stuff about the Patriots and the Texans. Before the break, I want to get into something that John will be participating in at the end of July, which is the annual 2017 Pros vs. Joes. John was selected as a Joe, and we're going to talk right now about the strategy that goes into this. John, you've done a lot of DEs already this season, so you kind of have a good handle, a good feel of how these drafts have been going. You've actually been in Pros versus Joes before. This isn't your first rodeo, as it were. Going against 5 other Joes and 6 industry pros in your league this year, how much does experience, your previous experience, count for in this contest as far as gaining advantage over those other 5 Joes and 6 pros?
I guess I look at it as, obviously the 5 Joes are going to be in there, also very good players, so they're always very challenging drafts that are in there. And I do think the experience does help out, I think, only in the matter of working with the draft experts and kind of having a little better feel of when certain players go, kind of typically, when quarterbacks start going off the board, knowing, when you need to start taking those, when, like, for defenses and kickers. So I really think that's kind of the advantage that you have, is just kind of getting a feel for typically when those players start going, so you can kind of get ahead of the runs. I think that's, for people that don't play them that much, it can be kind of, surprised by some of the runs that can happen in the draft expert type leagues.
He's a landmine, Dave. Rozek, the landmine in the Pros vs. Joes this year. He's just going to blow everybody up. Nobody's going to see it coming.
I got to say, I love drafting in DEs with John. It's so much fun. It
always seems like you could because
it's so fun to see who's going to take.
Yeah, and you guys, you and Kurt, of course, our friend Kurt.
We're always competing with them.
In the Kentucky Draft Experts,
right.
And that's I'm usually doing another draft at that time. But I can tell you that the loudest league that's going on in the ballroom
right.
at that point, and John will back this up. It is the cool league.
Right, John, it's the cool league.
Yeah, I think it's kind of the same, at least 10 of the 12 guys every year. So it's almost like a quasi-home league, so everybody kind of knows each other.
Well, and John, we do kind of, because they have the KDS, so we try, we don't end up next to each other all that often, unless it's on accident, unless we're both being cheap. Otherwise, it's like, he'll be like, I'll take the 3, I'll take the 10, I'll take the...
How do you determine that? Do you just draw numbers out of a hat? For the
right.
KDS, because you can't use your bidding dollars.
That's right, in DEs. This is more like that. We do that in like the big payback usually. That's what it is.
For what?
Yeah,
The
Draft Masters is just you get an assigned spot and that's it.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. It's a big payback where we somehow don't end up next to each other all the time.
Yeah. You got to.
It's all a fix.
Keep the 2 sticks of dynamite on the opposite ends of the draft table.
That way the teams, 11th and 12th place teams aren't right next to each other.
That's right. That's a good way of looking at it, I guess.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about my boy. Actually, is this your boy?
He might be. I'm starting to really like him.
Boy?
He might. I'm starting to really like him.
All right. There's a question here about TJ Yeldon. There's words he might get cut.
Yeldon might get cut? This I didn't know.
Well, I'll have to...
Ask the question. We'll figure it out.
Is Fournette the Jags back to invest in early this season, or is there sneaky value in adding a pass catcher like Chris Ivory, or possibly soon-to-be cut TJ Yeldon later on?
MJD.
Yeah, I think it's one where there's probably going to be value in both. I mean, obviously they drafted Fournette to be the main guy, and I think they're going to feed the ball 20 times a game. It's a matter of how well does that offensive line come together. He can catch the ball, so I mean, he might be a sneaky source of getting a couple of catches a game. So I definitely think that Fournette's going to be the lead back. But I could easily see Yeldon, if he ends up making the team, being that a sneaky guy you can take later and can get you that 10 points a game, where you fill him in if you're going wide receiver and tight end heavy to start the draft.
That's interesting. There is value in both of them right now because Yeldon is going so late. But if he does get cut, and I just verified this with a Jaguars beat writer.
I get a lot of news by osmosis, and that one stuck.
Yeah, 4 days ago, saying that Yeldon could be a surprise cut. Wasn't this a second-round pick 2 years ago for that?
Yeah, sometimes it doesn't work out.
Sometimes it doesn't work out. But, man, I'll tell you what. If Yeldon is cut, Ivory and Fournette, I think, are much more close to each other as far as skill set goes.
Oh, come on.
The types of running back they are.
When did Ivory get drafted in this year's NFL
draft? Okay, not talent level, but the way they play the running back position. I'll tell you this, Dave.
Tell me.
Chris Ivory's not going to be playing any third down if Yeldon gets cut, which means Fournette might be a true 3-down back. And oh my goodness, if you could
That's why they drafted him 4th.
Yeah, I mean
whatever they drafted.
No, it's 4th. Yeah, it's 4th overall. I'm telling you,
he'll end up being a first-round pick.
He could be. Right now, he's going in FFPC drafts the 306. So the middle of the third round, you can get Fournette right now. This is the reason you should be drafting right now. Like John Rozek. Smart people like John Rozek are drafting right now, and they're getting insane value on guys like Leonard Fournette going in the third round, who could be a first-round pick. We talked about Christian McCaffrey. John's been drafting him. He could be a first- or second-round pick as we get closer to Vegas. So that's my impassioned speech.
You're very
to draft early, draft often.
You are very passionate.
And we'll have you on the show in December when you're cashing a $250,000 check and say, Balky, I'm so glad you told me to draft in June.
John, let me ask you another thing about Fournette. Did you find it? I thought this was kind of interesting, so I'm going to kind of make a statement and then ask you. That he lost weight from the combine to the pro day. It was like 12 pounds, and pretty much because they said he was a little bit heavy at the combine. And then at the pro day, he wanted to come out and show he could catch passes, and he was like 12, 15 pounds leaner. He was able to adjust his body that rapidly. What do you think about that?
Makes look at how much of it was truly fat to begin with, and if he can't go back and want to drop that quickly on there, was he all that dedicated to begin with? Because he was hurt a lot during college, which is one of his big question marks coming out is can he stay healthy? And maybe he wasn't putting in as much effort during college.
That's true. Maybe he had those kinkles.
Maybe he did. I don't know.
Maybe you had too much Advil, a couple days before. Advil makes you retain water. Like 5 pounds of water.
I read a story on ESPN a while back. Ronda Rousey, the UFC fighter?
Yeah, I know.
She cut 17 pounds of weight in one day. One day.
Wow.
I'd love to see their kidney at 50.
Well, I would not. Because they will probably not look that great.
It's all water. I don't know how you cut, even with wearing those rubber suits or whatever.
Yeah.
That's just something else.
That's not healthy, I'll tell you that. John, we got a couple of emails from listeners this week that I wanted to read for you. I shouldn't say we got more than a couple, but only a couple good ones. Once again, emailers letting me down. Who do you like best among the Ravens receivers now that Maclin signed him, I was trying to assume is Maclin, Wallace or Perriman? Congrats on the auction title. That's Mike in Brazelton, Georgia. So you have Jeremy Maclin. Now, I'm assuming the data that we have is a small sample size since Maclin signed with the Ravens, but he was going at the 9-11 in FFPC drafts. Mike Wallace, the 10-06. Rashad Perriman, the 12-02 right now. So where does the value lie in there if you're going to draft a Ravens receiver, John?
Yeah, that's where it's big up. Because actually, Perriman was a guy that I had been drafting quite a bit early on that I actually liked to come out this year when it was looking like it was just to be him and Wallace as the starters. Seems like he had finally gotten to the point where he's going to be healthy, and at least he ended up getting good talks or everything during training camp. So he's the guy that I was leaning. So now it's Reese signing a Maclin. I don't know. I think it's another one here where you kind of have to look and see how it shakes out during training camp. I think Macklin's probably going to stay in the slot, so Perriman can probably stay outside with Wallace. And long term, I definitely like Perriman, but it'll be a little bit interesting to see how they shake things out for this year.
I think it's going to be interesting, too, to see how drafters react to this Maclin signing. How far up are they going to be picking Maclin, than they were before? How far are they letting Mike Wallace and Rashad Perriman fall? So the reaction of the actual drafters is going to be very important because that's, a big part of the value as well. Next email, this is from Russ in Feather Sound, Florida. Hi, John. I have the 109 pick in my FFPC draft tomorrow. I am looking at either A.J. Green or Michael Thomas in the first round, but what do you think about adding Jay Ajayi as my number one running back in the second? Thank you for the email, Russ in Feather Sound, Florida. So the 109, he's going with Green or Thomas. Okay, that seems right. Would you go with, is Jay Ajayi a good early to mid-second round pick in the FFPC format, John?
I'm not a fan of Ajayi at all. And he came on strong last year, had a couple of huge games. They're on there. But I don't know. He's just not a guy who can get behind this year. And I know he had the injury history coming out of college, coming out of there. But he's just one of those guys I can see being that have a great first year and then have a disappointing second year. So he's definitely a guy I think I'm shying away from in at least some of the drafts early this year. There's other guys that are there in early second round that I'd probably rather have at running back over Ajayi.
He's like the anti-Frank Gore, where Frank Gore shows up every single week, J.J. This week, maybe I'll rush for 200. Next week, how about 36 yards?
How bad the defense we're playing against?
Yeah.
Ooh, pretty bad.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I almost see a lot of
Doug
Martin going into his second year.
That's what, it is that.
He had those couple of great games his rookie year and then, went very high and then disappointed greatly in his second season.
Dude, John, are you afraid of, what do you about Jordan Howard as a sophomore slump? Do you think he's a candidate or not really?
Yes, I also agree with him. Another one there, I think they cut him the ball last year because they didn't have much else going on with the offense when he had produced. I think even if that offense improves at all, same thing with him. I could see him having a down year in year two.
See, I think that's an area where that's a kind of a weakness, a blind spot for me. Because the sophomore slump happens frequently with running backs, but I'm a kind of a hypey type guy, hyper and hypey.
Yeah.
So then like a rookie running back that does well, I'm like, oh, he's a young running back, he's a good player, that he's going to keep on doing well. No, Ezekiel Elliott's a different story. Assuming if he stays healthy, there's not, you see no issues there.
Yeah.
But with some of these guys like Howard, where he kind of comes out of nowhere, not totally out of nowhere, but I can see that too. I can see the downside.
Let me just bring this up too, because I'm just looking at this ADP right now, and man, I'm seeing the top three running backs in the draft sorry, am I invading your personal space?
Yeah, you're putting your hand over on my half of the area.
What I'm trying to do is take over the conversation physically right now.
You're alphaing the
studio. Totally alphaing. If there's a letter in the Greek alphabet before alpha, that's what I'm doing right now.
The beta co-host over here.
So the top 3 choices in FFPC drafts, and really all drafts, have been, Johnson, Bell, and Elliott. Then after that, and McCoy is solidly in the first round. He's actually been creeping up. This is something I want to get into later on in the show. You look at the guys that are going, running backs, going after McCoy right now in the first and second round, and man, I could see some red flags sticking out of all these guys. You have Devontae Freeman, it'll be his first year without Kyle Shanahan. Okay, maybe that's a minor thing. And you look at Melvin Gordon, who was really touchdown dependent last year. You have Jordan Howard, who we already talked about potentially having a sophomore slump. Jay Ajayi, who John Rozek, and many others, by the way, are not fans of this year. He's a question mark this second round. You have DeMarco Murray going in the second. And Derrick Henry, it seems like every time I look at ADP, that guy's creeped up another half round. So, I mean, there's question. And he fell off the face of the earth last year where Henry got a lot of carries. So you look at him. And then Todd Gurley, my God, I don't need to bring up anything about him. We all know what he's capable of not doing. These are all running backs going after the top 4.
That's why they're going there.
So for anybody who's like, maybe I'll go with the receiver in the first round, I'll get my running back in the second, yikes. Rethink that. Make sure that that's what you want to do, because right now I have a lot of concerns with that.
Get Gore and Doug Martin in the 7th.
Yeah, hell yeah. And Fournette in the 3rd, and just ship it.
So, John, do you remember what year did we actually meet? Do you remember the first year we met?
Probably one of the maybe year 2 or 3 of the old Wyckoff, so whatever that was, 2000.
Was it? Yeah, did you go to the Riviera? Were you at the Riviera?
Yeah, I was.
Do you remember the orange zine that they had at the Riviera that I had?
Had the what?
I bought some orange Zima there. I don't know if you had met me at the time, but I was very impressed because the bar, I was normally a drinker of Zima, and the bar had orange Zima behind the bar, so I decided to drink it. And, a lot of people made fun of me the whole night. But I was bringing this up because they re-released Zima, and I wanted to know if you were aware of this.
No, I did not know that. And I don't remember the orange Zima. I think it was probably one of the years, like year 3 or 4, when they had their, Hall of Fame or whatever type leagues where, all we did was drink the whole time during them.
That's true. That was, we had some early success in WCOP. I think we were met probably in one of those Hall of Fame, whatever.
I forgot about those.
One of those leagues. Those were actually pretty fun.
Especially if you're drinking the whole time.
Emil and Lenny, those guys knew how to run a high-stakes contest.
Moving on. Do we have a question here?
Okay, so anyway. All right. Give us an early round busted for FFPC leagues. In a late round sleeper, you're trying to nab in as many drafts as you can.
I think I already hit on the early rounder bust is Jordan Howard. I see him going, anywhere from late first, early second. I think I already hit on the fact that I don't like him. I definitely see him having that sophomore slump.
Nice.
For a late round sleeper, Marlon Mack. I think he's going to be a stud this year. Take over for Frank Gore. No, I'm kidding.
You had me.
Yeah, you had me going too.
Actually wrote him down.
No, I heard you guys earlier on. I'm going to actually hit the same guy there. A guy that I've been taking late is Perriman, and some of those third-year receivers, like Perriman and White, and some of these other guys that are falling to that 12th to 15th round, depending on the draft. I can definitely see those guys far outperforming what they're doing.
I think that's interesting because a lot of people, people are kind of getting used to the second-year receivers coming out as a second-year player and really doing well. But they forget that, for so long it was the third-year breakout. And Perriman and White are absolutely great candidates. And they're cheap prices. Why not? Take a shot at them.
Then Amari Cooper. Maybe we'll see something. Maybe see that guy show something finally.
Finally.
Yeah, just getting really sick of that, too. I think we were all spoiled, too, by that Evans, Beckham, Watkins, Cooks year. Oh, now the second-year breakout is the first-year breakout.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's like expecting the best, right away from all these guys. Well, we expected the best tonight on the show. We got more than the best. John, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciated you coming on and dishing about how your drafts have been going this year. We will watch you with bated breath, checking out all your picks on the Pros vs. Joe's draft coming up at the end of July. That'll be a lot of fun, and we will see you in Kentucky too. It's all happening.
At the table,
as they say. See you at the table. John, thanks so much for coming on tonight, man.
All right, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on.
John Rozek, the FFPC 2016 $2,500 auction champion, cashed a cool $12,500 for that. Won a lot more money. I don't mean to poo-poo the rest of his successful 2016. Won a lot of money last year. So
yeah, he's a phenomenal player.
The champ.
A very deserved Hall of Famer. Even if it's a virtual Toyota Hall of Fame.
Right.
I don't think there's really a complex.
You know who he is?
Pretty awesome though.
You know who he was inducted with? Kimmer Schleicher.
Was there only? I mean,
no, there's other people like the guy who founded fantasy football, and there's other people that got inducted.
Some jagoff who.
All right, listen.
All right, I'm sorry, Mr. Sir, if you're.
Well, I mean, you don't need to
some guy who no one cares about, but.
All right.
It's not like after Doubleday or anything.
Okay, but like
James Naismith.
Okay, fine.
Go ahead.
You're right. So he was inducted into that, and that was very cool. That was back. He's actually been in there for like 5 or 6 years now. So
nice.
He's like Hall of Fame emeritus.
So that jacket for the picture, you got the jacket?
Oh yeah. I don't know. I think you got it from the network, Dave.
Where'd you get that jacket?
Yeah.
Those guys are.
A lot of people thought Bob Cutback Davis was going to be inducted into the Fantasy Football Hall of Fame.
Oh, those guys are.
All right. So moving on, we have to get to your emails and tweets. I want to thank John Rozek for coming on. We're going to take a quick break and come back. More with the Dizzle and Jess Piccoli right here on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour on the Fantasy Sports Radio Network. You are listening to the Fantasy Sports Radio Network, specifically the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. My name is Eric Balkman. He is the Dizzle, Dave Gerzak, and it is time to get to all of your tweets, all of your emails, in a little segment we call Fantasy Feedback. All right, play it.
Got a question for Eric, Dave, or tonight's guest? Send them a tweet at HSFF Hour on Twitter. Email the show at highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com. Post it in the chat room during the broadcast. Hashtag your tweet with HSFF or just smack Eric in the head. That's highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com or at HSFF Hour on Twitter.
Dave, starting things, I'm not even lobbing softballs at you like I normally do with this segment with some of the emails we get, but we have a heavy hitting format, FFPC format question to lead things off this week. This is from John, does not give where he's from. Balky, you say, and this stems to the email that I had sent out advertising the FFPC VP Cash Leagues in the Victory Points format. A lot of people, we've talked about Victory Points on the show. Anyway, I'll get into the email. Balky, you say that the Victory Point format is the FFPC's most popular format, and I agree in general that it is the best, most fair format for determining playoff seeding, etc.
Most popular.
Well, that's what it says on our website. Why then are the main event and football guys leagues not in this format? IMO, which means for, in my opinion, Victory Points format is the superior format to the current record total points format. Love the show. Thanks, John. So thanks for the email, John. Dave, I think we've actually addressed this on the show previously, but we probably haven't in a couple of years. The reasoning behind not having the VP format for the FPC and the main event is fill in the blank.
Well, there's a number of reasons, Eric.
All right. I didn't realize there was a number of reasons, but okay.
I mean, really, we don't like to make things more complicated than they should be. Because if you're trying to get new people to play, right? You don't want to just always have the same 50 or 60 guys like some other companies in contests.
We don't need to just.
I'm going to put it right in the ground, Balky. I'm just kidding. So, my point being, you don't need to make it more complicated than it has to be.
Okay.
Make it fantasy football. Make it similar to your home format. And most home formats are not a Victory Points convoluted. What the hell is VP? How do I get the points?
Right.
Why isn't it showing up in the right spot? A whole bunch of questions that we don't want to have to give answers to.
Right.
Make it kind of keep it simple, stupid type of thing.
Yeah. And the other thing is, too, yes, VP is probably, you can look at it from the aspect that it's more fair. Well, you can also look at the other aspect.
Some people hate it, actually.
There are some people who hate it. And you can also look at the others, the current way that the main event, the FPC, is structured. A lot of people have said that's more fair. And granted, those people are probably not VP fans. But it's also easier to follow, I think, for the main event and FPC, like live scoring and stuff. You're trying to win. And trying to put up points. That's all that matters.
Yeah,
okay.
What is team?
Okay, he's got this, so I could finish in the top third here. But if this happens, then he's got two guys going on Monday night, so I could actually fall. But and then it just gets in.
So did I make the playoffs or not? And people
right.
I don't even know.
Right.
Who knows?
Yeah. So I agree. I think that it's an easier format to understand for people who are just starting off with the main event and Football Guys.
I think it's very compelling.
You and I both play in VP leagues. It's not like we hate them.
Yeah, I like them, but it's not like it's. I don't sit there and be like, it's not like so great that I had 30 VPs this year in this league and I just love it so much. It's so great. It's fine. Sometimes it sucks.
Sometimes it does suck.
It does suck. The
real Leroy, not a fan of VPs.
Yeah, exactly. Or you have a lot of points, and you actually your head-to-head record's not so great, but it wasn't quite the right amount of points at the right time.
Right.
And all of a sudden your VPs, your victory points weren't that good. But maybe you were the third highest scoring team on the overall thing. You still didn't make the playoffs.
I feel like Two-Packer and Carrington last year had that happen like 4 or 5 weeks in, where he was like the second highest scoring team in the league, but he had like 3 victory points.
Yeah,
I didn't understand it.
It does happen.
It does happen from time to time.
I don't know how, but.
Jim in Salt Lake City, Utah. What's your take on Joe Mixon this year? To me, he is a really good bet to finish as a top 10 running back, and he's not being drafted that way at all. Thanks, guys. That is Jim in the SLC UT.
One of the top places to retire, they say.
Salt Lake City, really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I wonder why that is. Is it the skiing? Is it the multiple wives? What's the attraction there?
Yeah, I forgot the polygamy.
I forgot the polygamy. Is polygamy still?
Yeah, it's fine.
I don't think that's kosher.
They don't like drinking that much, but you can have.
Yeah. You can't drink anymore, but you can have as many wives as you want.
If you're Mormon, you can.
And we've got great
Christians
skiing.
can't do that.
We've got a lake you can jump into and you just float. Because of all the salt in it.
I think the weather's pretty good.
So Joe Mixon, again, a player that we haven't talked a ton about, going at the 402 in drafts right now. He's the 15th running back off the board. Dave, I agree. It's probably not massively too low, but I think it is too low.
I think so too, actually. I don't mind that pick at all. I think, people don't like Jeremy Hill. I agree with that. I'm not a big fan. And Gio, they're talking about him being on the PUP list or whatever, not being recovered. So I think it's Mixon's job. It's Mixon's job to lose.
Yeah, guys that are going ahead of Joe Mixon right now in drafts. Isaiah Crowell is getting a lot of love. I think I'd rather have Mixon than him. Lamar Miller going ahead of him. I'd rather have Mixon than Lamar Miller. And then you get into that cavalcade of the second-round minefield that I already touched on with Howard, Ajayi, Murray, Gurley, all those guys. Basically, if you're a running back and your name ends in an E sound and you're going in the second round, there's issues there.
You really are hating on that second round.
I don't know. It's just I didn't even realize it until I was looking at it tonight. I'm like, my gosh. Bad. No, and they could be awesome, and I'm sure some of them will be awesome. But I'm saying, like, I'm not seeing the same warts for those. Obviously, the running backs going before him. I'm not seeing the same warts on. Hey, Balky, that's weird. The guys who are better are going before those guys in the second round. They're going in the first. Yeah. Well, you come for the hard-hitting analysis, and I'm giving it to you tonight.
And you on the wrong show.
Yeah. Howard in Berkeley, California. Any love for the Rams tight ends? I think both could be pretty valuable.
Berkeley's a nice place to retire.
I think, but
I'm just trying to be a jerk now.
I'm sorry. That's Jamal from Compton, California. I misread that. How about that place to retire?
Compton's pretty solid.
Yeah,
it's improving.
Lovely in the fall. You got to see the leaves of Compton in the fall.
Now is the time to buy property.
Yeah, they can only go up. Okay, any love for the Rams tight ends? I think both could be pretty valuable at their current spots if McVay really is going to feature that position in his offense. Thank you for the email, Howard. Now, okay, truth be told, these guys are not being drafted high right now. Tyler Higbee, the 16-12, and Gerald Everett not going to the final round of Football Guys drafts right now, the 20-02. You look at those two guys. To me, Dave, I don't know how you fall on this, but if I was on a tight end premium format, 12-team, 20-round, I'd like to have at least three tight ends on my team.
Yep.
Okay? So you look at Higbee and Everett, to me, those represent guys who I would be happy with as my third tight end. And maybe Everett I'd be okay with as my third tight end, but Higbee definitely is my third tight end in the 16th round. Book it.
I like, how I've said before, I like to sometimes go with the, three junkie tight ends format or style of drafting if I didn't get anybody early. I think Higbee and Everett to me are not good enough to be my third tight end. I mean, I don't.
Oh, yeah, good point. If you're taking them all bang, 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 like in that single-digit, double-digit round area.
Even if I'm going to wait till the 13th or 14th, I'd like to get somebody better than Higbee as my third junkie guy.
That's interesting. Okay, well,
I think these two. I mean, the team's not that great. They're not going to score a ton of points. Everett could take something from him, and Higbee wasn't that great last year. So I mean, you got to at least show something last year. I didn't think he did well enough at all.
Jesse James, Dwayne Allen, guys you'd rather have than Tyler Higbee?
Not much more.
Okay. I'm just looking at this. Like, as far as you go to the junkie tight end approach, you have Zach Miller going in at 13th, Jared Cook and Antonio Gates at the end of the 12th.
And it gets pretty brutal.
Maybe you want to upgrade your junk at tight end.
My junk
Too much junk in the trunk at tight end.
Charles Clay, man, it's getting rough.
You got Evan Ingram going in the 11th, David Njoku.
This is FFPC style. So
right.
It's like, where's Whit? So there was Witten. Where's he?
Witten's at the 908 right now.
You know what? I might not go 3 junkie tight ends in FFPC format.
So maybe one.
Fedorowicz is interesting.
Yeah, you seem to like him this year.
Fedorowicz and Hooper, I would look at those guys.
Yeah, I like Hooper too in the 10th round.
Hooper's better because he doesn't have to worry about another tight end coming on. He's got a good quarterback, Matt Ryan.
Who are you talking? He's better than who?
I think like Higbee, for example. I mean, Higbee has to worry about Everett still, getting.
Well, Hooper's going 6 rounds earlier too, so I agree.
I get it, but I'm just saying I'd rather invest earlier picks.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Let's move on to the next email here that I have, and it is from John in Saginaw, Michigan. He writes, "Dear Art and Deshaun, how far will Jamison Crowder shoot up draft boards now that we know he's starting with Pryor and Doxson as the third receiver?" HTTR, I believe that's Hail to the Redskins. John in Saginaw, Michigan. Jamison Crowder. Now, this is interesting. I don't know if I love football guys. They're the best.
Do you?
Yeah, I do. They're
you're
amazing.
You're a big fan of the podcast and the emails.
Well, the emails.
Joe and David are great.
I don't know if you noticed this in the email this week, one of the daily emails that went out, but in the same email, they had an update on how Doxson was expected to be the number 2 receiver, but then they also had a thing in there saying that Crowder is expected to start over Doxson, and they said a report that Doxson would be starting came out earlier in the week. But it was in the same email, which is sort of bizarre. So, listen, it's super early.
Fake news.
We're going to find out. But Jamison Crowder, dude, another guy that is going up draft boards. He's going at the 609 right now. I think he is going to be heavily targeted in that offense. I was listening just to bring this up.
I like Crowder, but that's pricey.
609?
Yeah.
That's
not cheap, dude. Speaking of dudes, that's not cheap.
Oh, he could also catch like 80-plus passes. I don't think that's an exorbitant price to pay to use your 6th-round pick on Crowder.
So if he catches 80-plus passes, he's the number 1 receiver on the Redskins.
I would assume so, yes.
So he's better than Pryor, gets more targets, and does better than Pryor. Okay. I mean, Pryor's being drafted before Crowder right now, right?
Let me take a look, Dave. I can do that
general
with the
vicinity, I thought.
Magic of 409 for Pryor.
Yeah.
Wow. I guess I'm just not on board with Pryor. Okay, so and maybe this is poisoning my mind a little bit. I was listening to the Kentucky Fantasy Football podcast.
That's poisoning your mind.
Hold on, just listen. I'm going to just bring this up.
I'm not saying this. I'm just
with Rob Fetcher and Farrell Elliott, and they were talking about the Washington offense.
Yeah.
And Rob Fetcher was talking about how he liked Pryor this year, thought he was going to have a good year, and there's going to be an adjustment to Washington's offense because it's a very precision pass offense. You got to be in the right spot at the right time. And Farrell's like, what offense does Pryor have to learn? He's just going to run straight. Like, Farrell is just not convinced that Pryor is,
is a full player.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't been playing receiver that long, too. Remember, he's a quarterback for how many years? He kind of bounced around, moonlighting as a quarterback and a receiver.
When did he come into the NFL when he was 24?
I don't know when he came into the NFL. But listen, he wasn't always a full-time receiver for every year in the NFL. So I guess I'm a little unconvinced that Pryor is all of a sudden going to stay. And they signed him to a 1-year deal, by the way. It's not like they wanted to lock him up.
He's trying to prove it.
Maybe.
Like Jeffrey.
Do you want to put 5 on Pryor?
Sure, I'll take Pryor over your boy.
Pryor? Well, okay, obviously you're going to take him over Crowder.
Yes.
All right, I'm giving you 2 rounds of value on this. I want the record to show that.
Take it easy. What do you want me to give you? I'll lay something.
I don't know. I don't know how we would do it.
Some number of receptions or some yards? 150 yards?
For Pryor?
100 yards? What do you want?
Okay. Here we go. I have Jamison Crowder plus a plus.
Or some receptions. I don't know.
No, let's do receptions. Okay. I feel that's a little bit.
Well, hang on. So Crowder's the guy who's going to get all the receptions.
That's what I've been saying.
So let's do yards.
No, because Pryor's.
I'm going to get fantasy points. I'm sorry. This could be better radio had we actually planned it. It shows that the show is not planned.
It's totally organic. Speaking of keep it simple, stupid.
Right.
Okay, so fantasy points, Pryor versus Crowder, and I don't know.
20.
Okay.
24.
Okay.
20, 24, whatever.
Okay, let's just do 22. Because it's totally random and it's totally our show. So I have Jamison Crowder plus 22 fantasy points this year. I got 5 on it.
I have the great Terrell Pryor, laying 22 fantasy points. And there's $5. Now, did you want to put a bet? Can I take Mayweather? And
you can, but it's not going to be versus me.
Conor McGregor.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm not touching that, man. I just.
I think I'm gonna bet Mayweather minus like the 700 just for this easy money. I feel like 70 grand.
And then I feel like
you're
you're jinxing yourself.
Like 10,000.
Did you see the guy who placed a $125,000 bet on the Warriors at the William Hill? What?
I thought it was more.
This is William Hill.
Okay.
There was another. I don't know what. There was one that was. Shady McCoy.
Yeah,
won
what did he bet? Like
200 grand or something like that.
Yeah. That was good.
Yeah, and
538 had the Warriors as 90% to win.
Yeah.
So if they're not laying 900, you're doing well.
And so the guy at William Hill, 125, and he won 47 grand.
That's great. I wish I had thought of that.
You can think about.
I don't have that much money laying around.
The great thing about the NBA is the Warriors are going to be in the finals next year, so you'll have a similar opportunity to bet them at heavy odds.
I'm still invested in the Rite Aid stock. I'm praying for it to actually have that merger go through. Thanks a lot, Walgreens.
Jake in McKinney, Texas. Dear Dave and Bulky, if he must, are you still riding the Corey Coleman wave? I know you talked about liking him in Dynasty, but what do you think for his prospects this year? That is Jake in McKinney, Texas. Corey Coleman, Dave, you want to take a guess at where he's going in drafts?
507.
He's going at the 1009.
Is he really?
You got to be loving you some Corey Coleman at that. Yeah, 1009. You got to be loving him at that spot.
I think I was just thinking of Terrell Pryor and that he'd gone. So yeah, I do like Corey Coleman a lot at the 1009.
For redraft purposes.
Absolutely. Why not? They let a guy, Terrell Pryor, who's going in the 4th round, go to some other team. They're like, you can have him. Whatever, you don't need him.
Okay, to bring up Pryor's age again, though, do you think that speaks more to their youth movement rather than a belief in or non-belief in his talent?
Maybe, but Pryor was not expensive. He was like $3-4 million contract, 1 year, and he is 27.
Oh, it was more than that, dude. It had to be more than that.
You call me dude twice tonight, which I don't mind.
All right, man. Dude.
All right, I'll bet you $5 that his contract is $4 million or less.
I got 1 year.
1 year, $4 million or less.
I have one million.
It might be 6, but I'll still bet it.
I'll go over 6. I'll go over 6. Yeah.
Let's make it 5.
Okay, I'll go over 5.
All right, we can actually verify this bet pretty much instantly. Terrell Pryor contract.
Okay, well, hold on. Let's make it. Are you looking it up?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, Rob can push the buttons here. So I got 5 on Terrell Pryor signing a 1 year, more than $5 million deal this year.
Yeah, I got $5 million or less. We're around 5.
What is this? Around $5 million?
$5 million. If it's exactly 5, we might be off.
All right.
All right. So you win.
What was it?
$6 million base, $2 million signing bonus.
Yikes. Oh, so okay, it was 8. I was thinking it was like 8 or 9 million.
Wow. That's a lot. Damn.
Okay.
Damn, Bulky.
All right. 5. So that is for the good guy. Excellent. Okay.
I get paid $5 to do the show, so I broke even on the show.
I guess. Corey Coleman, you're loving him in the 10th round.
Yeah, I do actually.
All right, moving on. Are you guys loving up on anyone in particular in the Washington ground game? How should I attack this fantasy pocket of goodness in my drafts? TIA, that's Daryl in Providence, Rhode Island.
The Redskins?
Redskins. Samaje P.
Matt Jones sucks.
Well, yeah. Okay. So here's the guys I would be looking at for Redskins running backs. Samaje Perine at the 902, Fat Rob Kelly, not so Fat Rob Kelly at the 1003, and Chris Thompson at the 1602, who is the only pass catcher if it's 3. So which one do you like there? Or a safe answer could be I don't like the value of any of those guys.
So Thompson at the 1603, Perine at the 902, and Kelly at the 1003.
Yes.
I don't know.
You're clearly not liking any of them.
I'm not all that excited about any of them.
I'm not either. I probably would not be taking Thompson in the 16th round.
I feel like it's a little bit early for Perine, and I feel like Kelly. It's a little disconcerting. You know, he's going later. I don't know. I don't like Kelly that much, so I don't know.
I don't like Perine all that much either. It's just to me
I think I'm out.
Yeah.
I think I'm going somewhere.
I am. I get that. Listen,
going back to Gore and Doug Martin.
Yeah, we've talked about all the great receiver values in the 9th, 10th round. We just talked about the tight ends that you could get in the 9th, 10th round too. So there are other avenues to make your draft successful than taking Perine or Kelly on the 9th or 10th. Okay, last email of the night, Dave. This is an important one. This is from Brenna, US04. Special Plates Unit, Wisconsin DOT.
Oh, wait.
Yeah,
all right,
so we have an update on this.
We got this back. All right, let's hear it.
Hello, your choice is available. Thank you for using the Special Plates Unit email. If you have any further questions, please feel free to ask.
What was the name?
Brenna. It's cut off, but it's Bryna.
Nice, thanks.
So maybe Bryna. It's Brenna, right?
Yeah, some parents had fun with the YNA.
0RB.
Teachers didn't like that the whole entire grade school career, you know.
0RB for Lyft is available in Wisconsin.
What was the one that someone else had one? Meyer had one? RB.
Oh, he wanted to check on punt RV for lift or something. I can't remember what his was.
Yeah.
But two-pack red one.
So the 0 RB
for lift. Yeah.
All right, that's pretty good.
So it's available. One of us needs to get it, but we have to sort of believe that first.
I'm going to check.
Maybe Sean Siegel should get that.
I'm going to check on one myself this weekend. ZIMA space LVR.
Yeah, Zima liver.
Lover.
Oh, I just
liver.
When you drink so much Zima, your liver's shot.
That's possible too.
Kentucky team name 2017. Orange you glad Zima's back.
Aren't you glad I didn't say banana?
No, that's another good one. That's going to do it for our show, thankfully, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks to John Rozek, Dave Gerzak, the FFP Zach, Rob, Bryce, and, of course, all of you for tuning in this Friday night or listening on Saturday to the Fantasy Sports Radio Network feed of our show. Make your Planet Hollywood reservations right now. The rooms are filling up fast. Sign up for the main event draft now with the Sats and Dino and the FPC. Take advantage of that Father's Day promotion. Buy a $250 league this weekend. Get a free $35 league. It's craziness, but it's all for you. Happy Father's Day to my dad and all the dads out there. Next week, career $30,000 FFPC winner and 2017 Pros vs. Joe's competitor Dan Thomas is going to be our guest on the show. Scott Engel and the Fantasy Hall of Fame Hour is up next on Fantasy. Your weekend officially starts now.
This has been another episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com that was broadcast live and heard around the world. Eric and Dave will be back next week with more analysis, interviews, and advice from a guest much smarter than they are. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk with you again next week.
Him again, the sound that engine in is like a bird. You see fireworks and Corvette tires skirt the boulevard. I know how you work, I know just who you are. See, use a bitch, you almost probably switch inside your DNA.
You know what an interesting license plate would be for me, since I love the KFFSC so much, and you can fit 7 digits on there, It would be KY Lover, because I love Kentucky. You think KY Lover is out there?
I don't know if they would accept that, Mr. KY.
Do you think that there could be a different meaning?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, so maybe you just saved me from embarrassing myself once again.
You should get it.
Thanks to Dave Gerzak. I'm not going to get it.
Get it.